Welcome students. In today's session, we will try to understand the programming languages and the classification of programming languages. Before we learn programming languages, let me give you a quick information related to languages. Okay. And in day-to-day life, you see that we use different languages in order to communicate between us, right? You may use English language, you may use Kannada language, you may use Marathi language or a Hindi language or even Urdu in order to communicate between group of people, or if you want to wish to say the things, some things to your friends, then you use certain languages. These languages are known to each other. That means you and to whom you are going to communicate both are aware about the language which you are speaking or the language the other person is receiving. You know about the content of that one, what the meaning of the communication is now. But when it comes to the computers, what particular language does this particular computer understand? Okay, is question here. Now you know, when we were studying the definition of a computer, we have used a term called as electronic device. We said computer is an electronic device. Why? Because it is made up of certain electronic components. Okay, as it is an electronic component, we have to pass certain electricity or a voltage to it, right? And also we know that computer is something which can understand only content which is represented in the form of 1 and zeros. Correct? So computer can only understand the content which is written in 1 and zeros. We call it as a binary numbers. Okay. Now, so programming languages means these are kind of a notations. Okay. These are kind of a notations or a kind of a symbols. Okay. Or any type of a words which we use in order to describe the instructions which we are going to deliver or which we are going to give it to the computer. Okay. In the definition also we had studied something wherein computer does certain type of process. That process is what? Based upon the instruction what we provide, right? The instructions how we provide it to the computer. Okay, that particular notation will describe this particular programming languages. By what manner we are providing the instructions? How does it computer understand that one? Okay, or as an user, how we come to know that what type of information or the set of instruction we are giving it to the computer. So this particular notations which describes the instructions that we are giving it to the computer, we call it as a programming languages. On a broader perspective, the programming languages are divided into two types, okay, or two categories of that one. First one is we call it as low level languages and the second one is high level languages. Okay, let's try to understand what the low level languages and high level languages. The words these low level and high level are with respect to the computers and with respect to the users. Users means the programmers, who write the programs. Basically, in our previous class we have studied the programs. Programs are nothing but a set of instructions which we provided to the computer in order to do certain task or in order to do certain process, right? So these set of tasks or the programs what we write based upon the different levels of the programming language. Okay, in the low level languages we have two different types again. We call it as a machine. This particular low level languages are machine independent and they are closer to the machines. So what do we mean by machine dependent and closer to machines? Machine dependent means the programs if we write in low level languages, okay, say we might be giving certain instructions in order to solve certain problem, right? So those instructions will only work on say one particular computer. It will never work on the other type of computer. Other type in the sense the architecture of the computer, how that computer is built. Based upon that, the architecture of the computer. If I write, say, let me give one example here. Say there is one particular computer with the architecture A and there is another computer with the architecture B. If I am writing the low level languages, then I need to write certain instructions. Okay, and these instructions will only work on the computer A. It will not work on the computer B, because the instructions which I am writing are of low level. When I write it at low level, those instructions are going to be depending upon the machine. The machine here implies the computer architecture or a particular computer where we are going to run those particular programs or where we are going to execute those particular programs. And we say that low level languages are closer to machines. Closer to machine means the instructions most of the time will be very near to machine, in the sense the instructions, how we write it could be zeros and ones. It could have been written using just zeros and ones. Since we have written using the zeros and ones, computer can easily understand it. So it is low level. It is at the level of computer understandable language. If we write, then we can call it as a closer to machines. In the low level languages, we have two classifications basically. Those classifications are called as machine level language and the assembly level language. The low level languages are further categorized into two different languages. First one is called as machine level language and the second is assembly level language. Let us try to understand each of these different types. The first one is the machine level language. The name suggests there machine level. Machine in the sense the computer. The instructions or the programming whatever we write is very close to machine. Very close to machine means it is as good as we are writing the programs or giving the instructions in the language which computer understands. That means the programs what we are writing will be consisting of binary numbers, that is zeros and ones, or sometimes we call it as the programs which are written in machine codes. Basically machine code means the code or the language which is understandable by the computer, and we know computer understand only 0 and 1. So what basically these 0 and 1 are? They are binary numbers. Bi means 2. So two numbers or two different digits, 0 and 1. We have different synonyms for 0 and 1. Like 0 means the truth value false and 1 means the truth value 1. You will discuss in another subject what is the truth value 0, what is the truth value 1. In computer fundamentals, you will be learning related to binary numbers. During that, you will understand more clearly what a binary number is. Okay. So as of now, you understand binary numbers means certain type of information or the data. Okay, not information, the data. The data and the set of instructions are provided to the computer in a sequence of zeros and ones. We call it as a machine code, and if that particular type of programming language, we call it as machine level language. Okay, all the instructions whatever we provide to the computer will be in the form of zeros and ones only, because we are writing the code in the form of machine codes. Now I just told you why we use only zeros and ones, because computer can only understand zeros and ones. Because why? It is an electronic device. Okay, let me try to give some information. Why only zeros and 1? Okay, as I said, the computer is made up of what? Electronic device, right? Electronic device means it will be having a certain electronic items there, which requires the electricity or a power or a voltage, okay, in order to work. And you might have heard somewhere or you might have studied that the electronic computers are basically designed from the logic gates. L-O-G-I-C, logic gate, G-A-T-E. There are certain concepts like logic gates. You will be studying in the upcoming semesters, okay, or in the computer fundamentals. Now, what is logic gates? Logic gate will accept, or in other way, logic gate will work when we provide voltage to it, or it will never work if we don't provide voltage to it, right? So what are the two possibilities? We can provide the voltage, that is current, to it, or we don't provide the electricity to it. Means two possibilities, that is True, we may provide the electricity, that is true. We may not, that is false. So true and false, the synonyms are what? With respect to binary numbers. True means 1, 0 means false. When the computer gives us certain data, or after its processing, it will give certain information. Again, that information will be in the form of its understandable language. That is again machine language. It is again 0 or 1. Means the output of the computer will be always in the form of zeros and ones. Okay, again the program, if we write a program in the machine level language, we have to provide the content or the data or the instructions to the computer in a sequence of zeros and ones only. And after processing, it gives us back the information in the form of zeros and ones only. Now you think now, how difficult it would be in order to write the programs in machine level language, right? Because suppose if I want to tell, say 100, if I want to give you one particular process that add two numbers, first number is 100, second number is 200 to the computer. But this 100 and 200 computer doesn't understand. It don't know anything about what is the 100 and 200. If I want to make the computer understand in a machine level language, what I need to do? I need to convert this 100 into a binary number. Binary number means what? A sequence of ones and zeros, a list of zeros and ones I have to make. Then 200 also I have to convert it into binary number. And the operation, that is addition, I need to do. I want to calculate sum of those two. That addition also I have to write the addition in the form of binary again, that is a sequence of zeros and 1. I need to do all these things, that is convert the entire data and the instructions in 0 and 1 and then give it as a program to computer. Then computer will understand that okay, everything I know, that is zeros and ones I have got, let me process and then give the result. Okay, it processes the data and gives the result in which format? Again the result is in the format of binary numbers. So once the result is there, then again the programmer, what has to be done? He has to convert that binary number into again a human understandable language. That is from 100 plus 200 it would calculate and the 300 result it would give. But the 300 will be in which particular format? It will be in the format of binaries. Then that binary number has to be converted back to the decimal numbers which a human can understand. So all these things have to be done. Because it is complicated to do, we say that machine level language is difficult to write. Okay, then what are the other characteristics of a machine level language? It is required no translators. You are coming up with a new word here, translator. Let me give one particular example here, what actual translator is. Now say that you want to go for a higher studies or to another country where English is not spoken. They don't, suppose if a country regularly they don't speak English, they don't aware about the English language, but you are very fond of English language, you know how to communicate in English. Say, let me take an example. You are going to Japan, okay, and assume that the person whom you are going to interact with, he or she don't know English and you don't know Japanese. Then there is a problem. You try to communicate with that person doesn't understand, and that person Japanese person wants to communicate back to you, but you don't understand. Now, how to solve this particular problem? You can solve this one by having a middle person who can act as a translator. Means the translator should know both the languages. Now, what you will do now? You will speak in English. Translator will convert that meaning into the Japanese language. Now, Japanese person will understand that one. Then he will reply or he will respond. He will communicate back in Japanese, and the translator, he will understand that meaning, then he will translate it back to you English, in the English language. Then you can achieve a proper communication between yourself and the Japanese person. Okay, through what? Through the translator. But here, the same thing happens with respect to computer as well. right? As computer, as we discussed now, computer understands what? It understands only zeros and ones, means its language, computer language is 0 and 1. But as a human being, we can't easily identify as if a sequence of zeros and ones are there, human cannot understand it what it is, because human can understand something which is written in alphanumeric, means if it is consisting of alphabets or a type of symbols or digits, then we can understand. But computer doesn't understand that one, right? So what we say here, the machine level language not required translators, required no translators. Why basically compute, if a program is written in the machine level language, not requires a translator? Because we are giving to the computer in the form of zeros and ones itself. Means I no need to translate anything to the computer. As a programmer, I am giving something, the data and instruction in the machine understandable language itself. Correct? So there is no necessity of translators. Why I explained this particular concept of translator? Because we are going to study that one in the second type of language and the third type of other type of language. And basically we call this machine level language as a first generation of programming language. First generation because when the programmer started writing the programs in order to process by the computer, so this was the first type of the programs where a computer can understand it. So that was the first type, so we call it as a first generation programming language. Okay, now we have gone through the what do we mean by machine level language and its characteristics. Let us try to understand, or let us try to put them in a type of advantages and disadvantages. Okay, the first and very most important advantage of the machine level language is what? Does not require what? Translator. Yes, it doesn't require translator, because the code what we have written, or the instruction what we have written, is directly understandable by machine itself, zeros and one itself. So there is no requirement of a translator. Then next, the second advantage is what? Directly executed by the computer. Since there is no translator required, so whatever the code we give, it is directly understandable by the computer, and it will just start with the execution. Direct execution is possible by the computer without any further changes or the internal modification done to the program. But it has got many disadvantages. The first disadvantage is that it is very, very difficult to remember the instructions for the user. How many sequence of zeros and ones we are going to remember? If it is just a 1, if it is a 8, the digit 8 in binary it is written as 10000, 10000. But remembering that particular digits, that is zeros and ones, is going to be very difficult for a programmer to remember. It is not at all possible, right? So that is one of the disadvantage. And the machine dependent. We said that machine level language is a machine dependent. Dependent means if a set of instructions are there, if it is written for one particular specific computer, I cannot use those instructions on the another type of computer. So there is a problem, because for another type of computer I need to write the instructions once again, which can be understandable by that particular computer. So then again duplicate work will be there. We need to repeat the codes, or we need to modify the codes every time whenever we want to work on the different type of computer. Then need to remember internal structure of a computer. If there are multiple computers we are working on, we need to first understand how those particular computers works. Okay, what is the architecture of those particular computers? Basically, there are two architectures we say, that is, one is the RISC, R-I-S-C, and second one is CISC. You are going to study in detail about these two architectures, computer architectures in the computer fundamentals. During that time, you will come to know it. Okay. As of now, you try to understand that each of the computer will be having its own structure or the architecture. Okay. Since the architectures are different, then the code what we write are going to be difficult or the different on the different types of architecture. And solving the errors is going to be difficult. Okay, solving the errors, why the basically solving errors will come. Suppose you could have written a particular program in the machine level language in order to do certain operations, certain processes. Now it does the process. You will provide the data and the instructions to computer in the form of zeros and ones. Okay, then it processes the data, it gives you the data back in the term of again 0 and 1. Then manually you will convert that 0 and 1 into your understandable language, and you will come to know that the whatever result it has given is not correct. There are certain problems. That problem because of what? The information what we have provided was wrong. Where it is going wrong, we want to debug this particular problem, the problems there. Understanding those particular errors or the problems is going to be very difficult. Why? Because everything what we see there will be a sequence of what? Zeros and ones. So it is going to be very difficult there. So the machine level language, it has very less advantages because it is very close to the computer, execution is faster, but writing the codes and understanding the code, remembering the code is going to be kind of impossible. Okay, then the next type of programming language under the machine is the low level language, is the assembly level language. Now we had seen some disadvantages over there in the machine level languages, right? Some of the problems or the disadvantages can be overcome using the language called as assembly level language. In the assembly level language, we use something called as a symbolic codes. We do use certain symbols to represent certain meaning. Okay, those symbolic codes we call it as mnemonic. P-N-E-U-M-O-N-I-C, mnemonic. Okay, so mnemonics are basically the symbolic codes. Okay, we represent certain operation or a certain type of process by a particular keyword. Okay, we call it as a mnemonic. I will give you the certain examples here. You may get to see. Again, this assembly level language is a machine dependent. Machine dependent means even though we are using certain type of symbolic codes of the mnemonic, but again these mnemonics are going to be different on different architectured computer. It is not going to be same. If I use on a one type of architecture, certain type of mnemonic, those will vary, or those will never work on the other type of computer. So for that particular computer, I need to come up with a new type of mnemonics. So again, it is going to be a machine dependent. Okay, and the programs, if we write using the assembly level language, we call it as a assembly code. Like how in the machine level we call it as a machine code, in the assembly level language we call it as a assembly code. Few examples here of the mnemonics means store. Here the word S-T-O-R-E, if I write in my assembly code, that means you are storing some value in some memory location of the computer. Then second is add, A-D-D. Add means, suppose if I want to add two numbers, if I use add, that represent as a mnemonic. It says the code is add. Add means I have to add. In the sense the computer has to add two numbers which has been given to it. Then load. Load means one particular code has to be taken from one place to the other place or for the execution. Okay, so what basically you see here, you see a kind of a symbols. The symbol is store, symbol is add or a load. What it means, it gives certain meaning to the computer. Okay, now just now I said what? Add is the mnemonic in order to add two numbers, and I said this add will be given to computer. But you may just have a question now. Just now in the previous that is low level languages, that is machine level languages, sir said that computers doesn't understand add, it can only understand 0 and 1. But now sir is telling how can this particular computer understand add, ADD? It can understand by using something called as translator. Right? Now we require that middle person here. Okay, now try to visualize here. The code is written in a human understandable, wherein I have written certain mnemonics. Say for example ADD, add. But this add will never be understandable by the computer. In order to make the computer understand, I need a mediator who can convert or we can translate add into a machine language, that is zeros and ones. So such a translator for the assembly level language, we call it as assembler. ASSEMBLER. Assembler is a translator. What it does, it translates the code which is written in the human understandable language to the computer understandable language. That is, it will convert the mnemonics into zeros and ones. Okay, then it is easy to write the program here. Why it is easy? This easy is compared to the machine level language. Why it is easy? Because we are writing the assembly code not in the zeros and ones, that is not in the binary numbers, but using certain mnemonics we are writing it. So it is easy for the programmer to write the program, because we do have a translator here which translates the content from human language to the computer understandable language. Okay, then next, the mnemonics, what we have understood now, these, if we write the instructions in the mnemonics, they are not going to, it's kind of a mediator. They are neither machine level or they are neither at the high level. High level means the human understandable. It is kind of a mediator. We can say it like, it's like a beach में ये पूरा असेंबली, ये पूरा मशीन लेवल भी नहीं है, ये पूरा प्रोग्रामर लेवल भी नहीं है, लाइक ह्यूमन लेवल भी नहीं है. It's neither a machine level language or not a high level language. It fits in between the machine and a high level language. Okay, now these are the characteristics of the assembly level language. Now let us try to understand the advantages and the disadvantages. Okay, as this was the second level of the programming language, we call it as a second generation programming language. Okay, now let us go through the advantages and disadvantages of it. Okay, now, so advantages: easy to understand and remember mnemonics. Yes, it is easy to remember and understand. Suppose if for an example which I have taken earlier, ADD is for the addition. Let me take the other example, SUB for the subtraction. For a programmer it is easy to remember SUB, right? And the meaning is also quite easy. SUB, subtraction. Okay, if I write SUB, it is going to for the subtraction operation. But think of this, if this particular subtraction is written in the form of zeros and ones, then I may need to write a sequence of 13 digits or 12 digits or 14 digits or 32 digits of zeros and ones, and remembering that length zeros and ones is going to be difficult, right? If I would have written in the machine level language. So the assembly language, since we are using the mnemonics, it is easy to understand and remember. And also it will be very easy for solving the errors. If certain errors appears, then we will come to know where the particular error is, and we can solve it. And modification in the sense, suppose later if I want to say I have written a program where I can add 2 numbers using assembly level. If I want to write the same program or modify the program where I want to add 3 numbers, then again I can just add the one more keyword add there, and the third number if I can give, then the assembly level code can be easily modified. So for the solving the errors and for the modification, it is comparatively much more easier than the machine level language. Okay, then it has also got certain disadvantages. The first disadvantage is again the machine dependent, because based upon the architecture of the computer or the type of the computer, the mnemonics are created. Those mnemonics will not work on the different type of computers. Okay, then again, since it is a machine depending, then we need to remember the internal structure also. Both goes hand in hand. The machine dependent and the internal structure both go hand in hand. Okay, and it requires an assembler. Yes, since we are writing some code which computer cannot understand, and to make it understand, we need a translator, and that translator we call it as assembly level language here. So these are the advantages and disadvantages of the assembly level languages. The third that we are going to study is the high level languages. Now high level languages are machine independent. Means if I write one particular program in a high level, same program can be executed on different architecture computers. So that main drawback of both the previous languages have been taken care or in the high level languages. Okay, and they are closer to humans. So closer to human means what? The code what we write in the high level language is much more easier for the humans to understand and remember it. The statements or the instructions what we write in the high language are human understandable language. We can easily understand, we can easily remember those particular words or the keywords or the you say the instructions, and it uses the compilers or the interpreter as the translators. Okay, again the high level languages require a translator because we are writing something, we are writing the instructions of the code where human can understand. Whenever some code is there, if it is understandable by human, then definitely it is not going to be understandable by the computer. So we need again mediator here, that is translator. For high level languages, the translators are of two types. One is the compiler, second is the interpreter. We will, in the further sessions, we will study in detail about compiler and interpreter. Some examples of the high level languages you might have heard: C, C++, Java, C#, Python, or the old age programming languages called as Fortran, COBOL. Okay, Fortran stands for formula translation. COBOL, common business oriented language. Okay, these are the high level languages. If the instructions or the programs are written in high level languages, those are going to be very easy for humans in order to write, remember, or debug, solve the errors. It will be going to be easy for the humans, but it is going to be a little difficult for the computers. In order to overcome that one, we have a translator called as a compiler or the interpreter. Okay, next, the advantages and disadvantages of high level languages. Okay, the advantages, the first advantages could be what? Machine independent. Yes, it is a machine independent. If I write a program on one computer, that can be used on other computer also. So there is no problem of remembering the internal architecture of the computer. So that disadvantage what we had in the previous two programming languages are taken care here. Okay, and it is going to be easy for what? Easy to learn the programming languages, easy to understand the programming languages, and easy to remember those things. Okay, it is going to be easy for the programmers. And also if there are any errors in the program, okay, then it is going to be very easy to debug also. So when we discuss about the high level, these high level languages are very easy for programmers or the users who write the program. Okay, in the disadvantages side, we have, it requires what? Compilers and interpreters. Yes, it requires a translator. That has to be, whatever the code has written, that has to be converted into a binaries. So we need compilers and interpreters. And since we have made it easy for the programmer, it requires more memory space in order to store all those instructions. The memory, whatever the instructions we could have written in the high level languages, that have to be stored onto the computer memory space. In order to store that one, it requires more memory. The word here more what we are using, this is with respect to the machine level languages, okay, or the those two types we have studied, that is in the low level languages, machine level and assembly level language. Compared to that one, it requires more memory space. And comparatively the execution is slower here, in the sense it requires more time to execute. Okay, so the disadvantages can be taken care by having certain more softwares over there, but it has got the advantages which will help the programmer to write the proper code. That's it, student, for today. In today's class, I hope in today's class we have gone through the programming languages and its classification. To just give a quick recap, the programming languages can be broadly categorized into two types. The first one is low level and the second is high level. In the low level, we have machine level language and assembly level language, and the third is high level language. High level language is much easier for the programmer. Low level language is much easier for the computer, but it is going to be difficult, very, very difficult for the programmer. And in middle, we have a type of programming language called as an assembly level languages. It is neither low at the computer nor high at the programmer. In case if the program is written using the assembly level language, we need the translator called as assembler. And if we are written a programming language in high level language, then it requires the translators such as compilers and interpreters. And the machine level language doesn't require any translators, because the things, the data and the code, that is instruction given, will be in the form of zeros and ones itself. So there is not necessity of a translator. I hope students this particular explanation is understood. If there are any doubts, please give the comment in the comment section. I hope you like the videos. Thank you, students.